Call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilman McCain.
Present.
Councilman Green.
Present.
Councilwoman Garvey.
She is absent.
Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for the January 9th, 2023 meeting. First meeting in the new year. Hopefully everyone's new year was great. We're going to run down to conflicts of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any item on this city council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature of the contact.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I received a letter in my mailbox here about items 5 and 6, the Albertsons request.
Okay. In what was the, I guess, nature of said contact?
The nature was recommending that I vote against it for the plan that they've set forward, and I'll come to my own conclusions and remain neutral based on the letter that I received.
Copy that. All right. Any other council members?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Also, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the same letter that Planning and Zoning got for those items.
Okay. Hearing none, I will go down to consent agenda. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the council agenda? Talk about any of them?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Just a question for Tiffany on item F, which is the destruction of surplus property. The memo that was sent out said that we'll give you authorization to auction or salvage. How's that decision going to be made?
Mayor, currently the auction company that we've learned that if they're unoperable or cannot run by basically just charging the battery, then the auction company won't take them.
Okay.
And so if that's how it is, then our department heads have been instructed to notify me and the mayor. So then the resolution we're notified that it's not going to auction to get funds, and it'll end up in a salvage yard.
Sorry, let me find out this right here. Most of the Parks Department items are mowers. Are those all going to be non-functional or?
Correct. In most cases, on those type of items, they're used for parts when they get to auction. So sometimes they'll just take mower decks and sell them, and seats and sell them, and then they come in to us as miscellaneous items.
Okay. And then there's 3 vehicles with independent VIN numbers for the police department. Are those all functional?
Yes.
Running to actual auction on those?
Yes.
Finally, the recreation stuff appears to be almost all pool stuff. We've decided there will be no value to the new pool moving forward.
No, a lot of it is like to the baby pool, the boiler unit or the heater. We're not going to use that any longer. The pool covers, they won't fit the new. So some of those things, the diving blocks, we inherited those from Emmett's rec department years ago. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Council members, you have any other questions, comments, want to pull anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman McCain?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. I'll call for the question. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
All right, run to new business items removed from the consent agenda. There were none, so we'll go to action item number 2 to elect a 2023 council president.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to nominate Councilwoman Garvey to continue her spot with the 1 month she's been serving there.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded to have Councilwoman Garvey remain as council president. Any further discussion?
Now teach her not to come to us.
Yeah, well, she's not here. You might want to say she could be the janitor too. Make a motion that she's the janitor now. We have a lot of fun with her. She doesn't show
I
up.
bet she can hear you right now. She probably can.
Hearing not, then I'll call for the question. Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to action item, non-action item, discussion with Mitra Cooper, Director of the Elmore County Land Use and Building Department regarding Elmore County impact fees. Mitra?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Mitra Mehta Cooper, and I'm Elmore County's Land Use and Building Director. With me here is Ann Westport, who is no new person
Well
to
known
you.
to you all.
Thank you for having me on the agenda today. We really appreciate you keeping us up front. Thank you very much, Tiffany and Mayor, for that. Impact fees are not anything new to you guys. You have adopted them, you are administering them, you're seeing the challenges of it, you're seeing the benefits of it. It's nothing new. Idaho State Code requires all of us to provide a series of public services to our citizens. And we are required by Idaho State Code to provide these services with very limited funding and financing options given to us in the state code. Impact fee happens to be one of them that allows us to pay for some of our capital facilities needs that is triggered by new growth. At least that takes away some of the burden from the property tax income that or revenues that our county and city makes. So I think it's a really great tool to use to support the new growth in Elmore County without putting additional burden on our taxpayers going forward. Elmore County Commissioners considered this after I made the proposal that I would like to have this considered in 2021. And since then, we have invited all the political subdivisions of Elmore County in a meeting to see if anybody else was interested in it, participating in it, and so forth. We also established a joint, after we had that meeting, we had a couple of other entities that joined the group with us in hiring Galena Consulting. So collectively, we have established a joint advisory committee for the impact fees. They've met on 5 different occasions, and what you have is developed as a result of their recommendation and guidance that was given to the consultants. The advisory committee's recommendation called for us to have impact fees that are applicable to all of Elmore County, including both incorporated cities for sheriff, EMS, and jail. So those are the 3 components that I think we would like to discuss with you today. And if you feel that you want to consider having this implemented in City of Mountain Home, I have a draft document for review by your lawyer for an agreement that would be needed to administer that. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Anne, who will go over the details of what we have done in the study itself.
You all know that the impact fee statute is somewhat complicated. We've run into those places before. Throughout the state, we have about 5 counties right now that are doing this exact same study. And in the same way that a fire district can't collect its own impact fees because no one pays their building permit to a fire district, cities have to have counties, and counties have to ask cities to sign intergovernmental agreements to cross-collect or pass through their impact fees as well. So in this case, as Elmore County provides jail, sheriff, and EMS to the residents of Mountain Home who are also residents of Elmore County, we look at growth throughout the entire county. And halfway through this study, I sold my company to Tischler Buys, and so this looks very different than the way that I did your impact fees. But when Ozzy and I double check it, it comes around to the same number, however we do it. So I just wanted to go through this a little bit so you understand the assumptions that we made and how we got to those numbers. And then we are interested in hearing what questions you might have about that. On page 2, you can see we started with the original growth projections that we had from the City of Mountain Home and built around that anticipating that there would be almost 15,000 new residents in Elmore County, 7,200 new homes. A lot of that is Mayfield. So we are trying to imagine that Mayfield is developed because we don't want to be behind Mayfield. We want to make sure that the county is able to serve that area regardless. If it comes on fast or slow, it doesn't matter. They would pay impact fees whenever that density comes. And the agreements that the county's making with the developers are planning for infrastructure, fire stations, etc., that are going to have to be placed at a time certain. So this just allows the mechanism to pay for that as they're selling homes on those lots. And then obviously retail on the next page, retail, office, industrial, and institutional will be increasing. If you put that many new houses in Mayfield, obviously the retail and commercial will follow that. And particularly even within your city, as you're continuing your economic development efforts and you're seeing additional growth in that area. So when we looked at the sheriff, you know, and the sheriff is interesting because obviously all of the services are centered in your city, within the county. And so you get the best level of service already in terms of response time because everything dispatches from here. As the sheriff's looking at
You mean our police department dispatches from here?
EMS, that serves you, dispatches from here.
Okay.
The jail is right here in your city. And then if sheriff were, whatever the sheriff is doing on behalf of the city, which would be secondary, they're here as well. There is growth here, and there is also growth in the surrounding county. So what we had to work through with the sheriff was, if that much growth went on and they only had as many officers, deputies as they do now, what would happen to their response time? If they dispatch from here and respond to Atlanta or respond to Hammond or wherever they're responding, A, it takes a really long time, but B, if they're over there, they can't respond to a call that's here. If they're backing you up, obviously, in that area or right around the city. So their capital improvement plan is really focused more on a substation model so that they would put a person would be working, a deputy would be working in those other parts of this, of the county so that they could respond.
Hey, I'm gonna do something really quick. Hey, I'm gonna suspend the Robert's Rules of Order, so if you guys just wanna fire questions, feel free, okay? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Ozzy and I always get in an argument about sheriff, whether or not sheriff impact fees should be collected by cities that have police departments. I know you were going to ask it, so I thought I would just put it out there ahead of time. I don't know. That's a great question.
Who do I like better, Ozzy or you?
You like Ozzy because I technically am retired.
can you
so
come
what
up
do you
top?
think? That is obviously, I expect us to have that conversation. So I'm just going to quickly say their CIP is really looking at how they can respond to growth physically, how they can provide a life-saving and proper response time throughout the entire county. The only way that's really impacts the city is if there's a lot of growth outside of Mountain Home and everyone is dispatched outside and you have not, and the city has not participated in that infrastructure, there may not be people to respond around your, community. May not matter because your police department may completely have everything under the control. Since I'm working for her today and not you, I'm just going to leave that there and say, y'all's need to have that conversation. However, if we divide the 4 sheriff substations and the vehicles that they would need in order to continue their current response time throughout the full county, each single-family home would pay $275, multifamily would be $207, and then those retail, office, industrial are based on 1,000 square feet. Your fee schedule is per square foot, so do the division there. But I think it may be more relevant on page 6 to start having a conversation about the jail. If we look at such a significant increase in population within the county, quite a lot of it here in Mountain Home, and then obviously if Mayfield was at the point of being built out, there's not currently enough space where the jail is to be able to provide beds for all of those new people, unless all of the new people who come to Elmore County never commit crimes. If you could pull that off, then this is no longer relevant, right? So unfortunately, Elmore County's jail can't expand from where it is. It's landlocked, and from what I understand, it's also oriented the wrong way, and they don't have the parcel next door. So we continue to have a conversation with them about what are your long-term plans? Are you going to totally move the jail? Are you going to put misdemeanors one place and felonies? What are you going to do with the jail? What?
And have you consulted with an architect to truly determine if it's not expandable, the current jail? Or how are you coming up to say that that jail's can't be expanded or more bed space is added?
That is what our client told us.
What client?
Commissioners and the sheriff's office and other facilities people that were there.
So a cinder block building can't be expanded?
That would be a great question for Mitra to pose back to the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Essentially, the way I dealt with it is, regardless of where it's going to be expanded, I just count number of new people, multiply it by the factor of each 1,000 people that tend to be needing to be in jail at any one time. And then we just need that many new beds. So what you see in the CIP is the number of square feet that either would need to be added to the current jail or built in another jail somewhere at some point if they wanted to do a substation, a sub-jail, or a different levels of degree. So this does not bind the county to how they would do it. It's just the best way of us figuring out how many more people will need to be detained and how many beds will that need to be according to DOJ requirements for jail space. The Ada County, they have 2 new pods. These kind of go in pods of beds. Ada County CIP that they've are close to adopting has 2 $45 million new jail pods. This is a much less expensive one because I think Ada County does things on it's more expensive to build than Ada County. We'll just say that. So I think we took a pretty conservative approach to what a jail would cost. But jails are not the same as building an office. The construction that you talked about, the amount of security, the way that it's configured. Did you say 800,000? How much is a square foot?
The current one?
No, what we put into here.
1,000 a square foot.
1,000 a square foot. And that was a question that we, really had a lot of discussion with the advisory committee on, because most often people don't believe that anything can cost that amount of money. So what we did was pull Ada County's facilities plan and their, within the last 2 years, estimates of cost. Canyon County's estimates for the bond that they tried to pass and did not pass for their new jail. And then there's been no other jail in Idaho, but there have been a few in Utah. And so we got actual costs from Utah, and they were all within 900 and 1,200 a square feet. So we feel comfortable with that amount. The advisory committee thought it could be done for less, and when that feedback is given to me, I say, tell me what it can be built for if you have that expertise to know, and that was not provided. So obviously that could also be a continued conversation of whether or not that is too expensive for a jail. But if they were to take that $14 million jail improvements, that would be what was necessary to serve 15,000 more people over 10 years. You can see that the single-family jail fee would be $1,664. I'm on page 7. Multifamily is $1,252, and then the different non-residential land uses are broken out. So I did say I've done Ada County, Kootenai County, Payette County. I'm blanking on the other one. Ada County and Kootenai County's jail fees are about $800 a single-family unit. Payette and Elmore's came out at really close to $1,600 both. And the reason is that jails cost what jails cost. You're all growing, but a 5% growth in Ada County is more people than 5% in Elmore County, and so we're just dividing the cost of a jail by more people in those communities. What I like is that Payette and Emmett, similar counties in terms of land use, came out really close. So it matches what we see, nationally in other places. But we acknowledge that's a number. It's also the unfortunate reality, I suppose, of it's just like roads, managing expensive things. EMS is another one as an independent district. It's similar to the Mountain Home Fire or King Hill Fire, both of which are participating in this process but are irrelevant to you, so we're not including them tonight. That's not true. Mountain Home Rural Fire is relevant to you in that we identified in your fire CAP a proportional share of that station. In the Mountain Home Rural Fire District CIP, we put the other part of that station in there, so we make one whole building between your fees and their fees. EMS is really looking sort of at the same dispatch or deployment methodology as the sheriff, of being able to have small deploying areas throughout the state so that not everyone is being dispatched from here. Based on call volume increases and where calls are coming from, and then understanding that there's increased growth right here where they are currently dispatching. So they're looking at Mountain Home West, Glens Ferry, Pine, and Mayfield EMS stations. Those are very small, just park an ambulance and let someone live there while they're on duty type stations, plus the equipment that's necessary for those ambulances. That EMS fee would be $426 single family, $320 for multifamily, and then etc. I have a lot. There are fire departments, municipal fire departments, and fire districts throughout the state that do EMS or do EMS under contract with the county. And those entities' fire impact fees cover the cost of EMS. So we go to whomever the entity is that has responsibility. So if your fire department ran full EMS, we would have been, put these kind of things in your impact fee, but someone else is providing. Elmore County makes things very complicated. That's what I know. So on page 10, you will see that if the county were amenable to supporting Elmore County in their efforts to have growth pay its own way, a single-family home would be charged $2,365 for those 3 impact fees. Multifamily would be $1,779, and on down the list for non-residential. And now, why is the city even telling you about this? Why is the county telling you about this? Because the legislature made a weird amendment to the statute that I think was designed to help us get around the weirdness in that fire districts couldn't assess their own impact fees. So they changed the language that says governmental entities can enter into intergovernmental agreements with each other to collect the impact fees for each other wherever the point of building permit is. So growth in Mountain Home is definitely going to impact the county's ability to provide these public services. But they are not issuing building permits for the city, so they cannot assess that. So this is more of a, throughout the state where entities are doing this, they would, when someone comes from a permit, you would charge them your City of Mountain Home impact fees. You'd say these are the county's impact fees. you'd collect the money, then you would quarterly or monthly, however you wanted to do it, write a check to the county and send it off. The intergovernmental agreement that Mutual provide has been used by almost everyone throughout the state at this point and relieves the city of any liability. So you don't have to account for it. You don't have any of the responsibilities you have with your own city. You have to write a check. And we include in that IGA an administrative fee. So, whatever it is to accommodate for the time of writing that check and sending it, and whatever that is for you, whatever it costs for that burden, it's intended. Basically, every entity is begging other entities to do this for them. So this is the best we've been able to manage it.
And is the legislative statute amendment that you talk about, is that simply for the collecting of fees or for the assessing of fees on city residents?
Well, this again is weird, is that, and I'm not an attorney, and
We have one
we
here.
have an attorney, but several attorneys in Idaho will tell me the different answers to this question. What I understand is that the statute requires, if the city is going to collect fees for the county or for a fire district, for example, they adopt the fees as a subsection of their own impact fee title within their code. They adopt them. They say that we're adopting these for the county, and it's clear in the ordinance that they then get transferred to the county, and it's the county's obligation. But it's not like I think in other areas there are fees that you might collect for someone and just hand them the money and you don't have to go through all the adoption. And I imagine that's because this is kind of a big deal, and they probably want the city or the county, whoever's being the collector, to have time to really, review and.
So page 10 here is referring to what the city residents of Mountain Home inside the municipal boundary would be charged for the county.
Correct, and this would be the same as any new single-family home in the unincorporated county or in the city of Glens Ferry, except they would also pay fire district fees for anything in unincorporated.
So is this, as the statute reads, is this an option of the city to enter into the intergovernmental agreement, or can the county force it upon us?
The county cannot force it. No, so it's something that the city, hence why it's an agreement. And then the method behind the madness, it's not true when it comes to a county. But for example, a fire district does not have ordinance writing authority. And so they could not pass, they could pass a resolution saying that these are the impact fees and this is why, here's the level of service and here's why it's a reasonable amount and all that. But unless they have the city as a partner, they couldn't enforce it, they couldn't enact it. And so that's why that we're a partner in that process. But no, I mean, if your question is, are we legally compelled to do this? No.
Okay. And this may not be for you, Ann or Mitra. You guys did much greater detail in terms of the commercial, retail, office, industrial. How come that didn't happen for the city of Mountain Home?
It didn't happen for the city of Mountain Home because my methodology that I've used for 20 years is a different methodology than this company. So when I sold, and Ozzy at that point was working our contracts through this new company's methodology, they wanted it done that way.
The company or the county?
The new
Tischler
company,
Buys.
not the county.
Yeah.
Tischler Buys, who bought my company.
Okay.
Brock and I were just talking is that I know that you're interested in having your streets fees broken out by more categories. And I've talked with Tischler Buys about giving a proposal to do that. And Brock can brief you, but we have two different methodologies that end up sort of at the same place, and it's we have options for you to be able to break things out. Some are more expensive options than other options, but I think Brock will update you on that at some other point.
Can I say one thing? This is related to the sheriff kind of issue. This is a Tischler Buys standard. They've done these all over the country. I've just joined the company because of Ann, and I'm no longer with Tischler Buys anymore. But this was their direction on how to do these, because I'd done them in multiple states, and so that was why I kind of, it's been presented the way it has, is because I was under the rules of, we do it this way everywhere, and we don't kind of deviate from that. So that's why you see sheriff and jail as a part, even though it's part of the city, and it technically is.
So
I
we,
would still argue that there is not enough empirical evidence that a single family or a multifamily home puts more or less people in jail. And where we get into where anywhere I go that we start breaking it out just makes more people angry. So that's why I always ask my client, because if you break out your streets fees, your retail fees are going to go really high. And as long as you're okay with that, that's great. A lot of our clients do that. People sue in Ada County Highway District all the time because there's 30 different land uses and they never want to be in the one that they're asked to be. I definitely think you should break out your streets, and there are several different ways to do it. But my training in impact fees and my experience is that making it more complicated does not necessarily make it more fair. It doesn't make it easier to administer. However, I stand behind this methodology as well. This is legally defensible as well.
I got a question for you about the sheriff being up in Pine or whatnot and can't take care of things here. How much has our police department went to the county and helped them? To where,
And those
what's
are
the
perfect
breakdown as
questions.
to how much, because they're not always here. They are gone someplace else, so we go outside of town to cover some of the
Right.
times when they're not there. To where that got me confused there on the sheriff's
It's a
deal.
very normal question to ask of who really is needing who, and would our level of service actually be impacted if we chose not to collect a sheriff's fee and you therefore couldn't build as much CIP as you had planned, is that really going to impact us because we weren't waiting for you to come anyway? It's a very reasonable question to refer back to the county.
I don't like that we're paying for Mayfield. I think if somebody builds in Mayfield, there's an impact fee for Mayfield. If someone builds in Glens Ferry, there's an impact fee for Glens Ferry. I don't think all Elmore County needs to be paying for Mayfield or Pine to Featherville. If someone's building a house in Pine, why are they paying an impact fee to the city? You know what I mean? As a developer, I'm thinking that's not right. It
They're
should
paying an
be.
impact fee to the county. Well, if they're building in Pine, why would they be pulling a permit here? They're not. If they're building.
But they're gonna pull this impact fee, right? But I'm saying this. Let's say if we're the residents of Mountain Home, and I got Daniel's gonna put up a brand new 5,000 square foot retail shop. Now he's got to pay this impact fee that goes to the county for Mayfield. They get some of that money for their jail out there, or Glens Ferry if they wanted a jail or a substation. You know what I mean? Why does the citizens of Mountain Home
And here's why.
subsidize
Right.
Mayfield, Glens Ferry, Pine, Featherville, all them, Atlanta?
Because that's not the case. If Mountain Home were not growing, then you would have absolutely no part of this agenda at all. You're not going to grow. You don't need anything more. You're fine. You're just going to keep getting what you're getting. And we would make a donut around the city of Mountain Home and we'd say everybody else needs these new services. But Mountain Home's own growth projections are 50% of what we are projecting for the entire county.
You said that was Mayfield included.
Right, but of the whole 15,000 people, the 15,000 includes Mayfield, but it also includes all of you. So all of these numbers are predicated on what the sheriff, the jail, and EMS will need in order to continue to provide service to you. This question usually comes up when the governmental entity where the infrastructure is currently located. I'll give you an example. Kimberly, because the city of Kimberly has the Rock Creek Fire Station right in the city of Kimberly. But Rock Creek Fire serves Murtaugh, Hanson, the unincorporated area, and Kimberly. So they have these impact fees, and they've asked everyone to collect for them, and Kimberly has said no. Because Kimberly says the fire station is already right here. We don't need anything. Well, Kimberly is actually growing faster than anywhere else. They are the reason that the number of calls are increasing. They are the reason that people are being taken out of district. So to say that only people in Merton Hanson should pay for the new station, when as many of the new calls are coming from the city of Kimberly, we all should pay for the new infrastructure, because I might dispatch out of Merton, I might dispatch out of Kimberly, but this guarantees that I'm going to be at that fire in 5 minutes. If Kimberly doesn't play, Rock Creek can't do this. I mean, and essentially, this as well. If we can't get all the people who are creating the demand for new capital to participate in their prorated share, then either the county has to find another funding source, which would probably be a GO bond, and if it were to be passed, that would be your taxpayers, your city residents paying for it, or just decide we can't do any more EMS. We're just gonna have to continue to dispatch from here. But if our ambulances are all out in the county and a call comes from the city, all of your growth has made that longer to respond. Does that
County
make
growth
sense?
made it longer to respond.
No, your growth too.
But I'm saying, like, oh, I have no, so I guess I want it broken down to where, okay, City of Mountain Home, this is, if it's 426 and you're incorporated Glens Ferry, Mayfield, Lana, all them, what is Mountain Home's share of that for the increase? It's not 426 bucks. Let's say it's $200. Because I guarantee you, with the population growth, yeah, we're going to need more beds, jail beds, or whatever, whatnot. Get it. Got that. Now, I don't think it's fair for the citizens of Mountain Home to pay the full, well, let me phrase, the citizens of Mountain Home, the developers,
No, I get what you're saying.
you know where I'm going,
I totally
right?
get what you're saying. And so I would ask you to look at it in, if I took, okay, here's how much the city of Mountain Home is gonna need. They're gonna need X number of beds. Glens Ferry is gonna need X number of beds. Mayfield will need X number of beds. Then I say, this is 200,000 worth of beds, this is 300,000 worth of beds, this is 200,000 worth of beds. Then I divide this by 100 houses, this by 200 houses, and this, it's all going to end up being the same number. Because that's just the math.
Right.
I totally get what you said. We could redo the whole thing and we could do it by 6 different service areas. But because the service level isn't different. Like if you weren't growing, we would create a service area that was a donut.
Right.
And we actually ran it the first time
was
with
just gonna say,
Mayfield
I-
being its own thing.
I did Mayfield
And
as a
the numbers
service
are
area,
exactly
and
the
it wasn't,
same.
it was very, very close to the existing numbers.
And then Mitra, wasn't Mayfield getting 1,000 for share, 1,000 for fire, 1,000 for
That's
something?
for O&M.
Right.
That's for operation and maintenance. So what they are doing for Elmore County for O&M piece, they are building the actual capital upfront.
Right.
And then they can get reimbursed later on if impact fees were, adopted.
But this is critical because often a place that's growing will say, oh yeah, here are your impact fees, but they won't have any money to get the deputies or the new the people to drive the ambulance. So at least in Mayfair, they're in a position where they can, without increasing the mill levy, make sure that they can totally take care of themselves out there without depending on pulling people over.
And I want you to know, Mike, I have Chief Thompson running numbers for how many calls we go out to the county.
Oh, okay.
And so we're just gonna start doing that and just running that. So you once we get some statistical, more statistical, we'll have that. Brock, you want to weigh in on this, my friend?
Mayor, real quick, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I forget, sorry. As I think through this, the great thing about doing one service area instead of multiples is that all of the people outside the incorporated area of the city of Mountain Home can pay into our street impact fee and our parks impact fee too.
And that is a totally legitimate way,
it
right?
shares everything. You
And
can't.
you'd say you drive into Mountain Home, you use our parks. Yes,
Okay.
yes. At
So-
that point, I would say the state of Idaho
we
should
go.
probably learn how to do regional planning because we don't. We're very territorial. We have boundaries, and we don't see things as systems. I totally agree with you. I follow you.
So
Good luck
so-
with that plan.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's where it gets to
That's
the
why
point
you-
nobody can build anything anymore.
Right,
Once
because it's so
everything- Everybody charges for
complicated, yeah.
everything upon everything upon everything upon everything.
Go ahead.
Correct.
So then, quintessentially, then, if you build a house in Elmore County, we should be charging you a parks fee, street fee. What else? We got fire.
If the argument
police.
is that the sheriff serves us as equally as, then we serve them as equally as they serve us.
I think that you could make a counter argument to, if the sheriff serves the city of Mountain Home, then the city of Mountain Home streets and parks serves other people. Your fire and police provide mutual aid, but they're not really the first response. They're not technically or by statutory required to respond. Yes.
Can you say that
totally.
again? Who's not required to
Our
respond?
fire is
Our fire.
required to go out in the county, our fire department.
But they will call the fire district, they will dispatch the fire district first. Now, if you end up being, if it's backwards, that's an issue y'all have with dispatch, and you need to figure that out. Like I can't cure, like remember I say I can't cure existing deficiencies? If you got weird systems going on now, I cannot make up for that. I can only help you going forward. But if I were you, I would say, okay, what is this? Why are we responding? Ozzy and I were talking about this. The public service brotherhood has always been really good at backing each other up. And then people ran out of money. And now that backing each other up system, if you try to account for it, can be done. But it also can be very complicated in a rural area where, why aren't you responding across the street? Well, because that's in the county. These are policy issues for you as elected officials to decide. There's no right or wrong answer.
Rock.
So I can tell you that I obviously believe in impact fees.
Right.
I'm the one that came to this body and said we need to update theirs. I can tell you that from a regional planning perspective, you know, me and Mitra, we get really excited because that's
They're
what
geeks.
graduate school said we should do. But in practice, it's a little bit more difficult to do. I want to say thank you to Mitra for being forthright. I asked her for the complete report, and I've been through that. And there's things in my position, as I'm here to serve the best interests of here. Not that I want Elmore County to fail, but this being my first priority, I think this is the start of a discussion so that we can do good by our residents by making sure that they see the value of what they're paying. I think, you know, there's some things that kind of make me uneasy as far as what I saw in their CIP. I know that the county wants flexibility as far as future jail facilities, and I understand that. But I can tell you from a policy-making decision, you know, saying that we're going to build a ginormous jail facility in Mayfield, that's kind of hard to swing by a Mountain Home voter.
There's no jail in
If
Mayfield.
that was the case.
5 million?
I did the CIP and
It's
had
Mayfield's
Mayfield.
portion. We wanted
It's
to really,
Mayfield's calculation for the
we
total.
wanted to
It
make
wasn't
sure
going to be
that,
Mayfield.
that they were paying their total share of the jail because, yeah, you can't have two jails. You have a jail, you might have it across the street from each other, but
And that's
it was just for her to be able to get the money out of them ahead of time.
Yep, and that's awesome. But understanding about those facilities, I can tell you as far as the sheriff's impact fee, I tried to do my due diligence and spoke to other counties where this is happening in other cities. And the report was fair, and it said that, you know, in Boise, Ada County, they're not going to cities saying paying the sheriff's fee.
Right.
And, you know, maybe with what we see working with Chief Thompson, looking at the numbers, maybe that's the conclusion we come to. I think that the county is open to us having an in-depth conversation about their CIP, looking at it, and getting where the mayor's getting at, which I think is perfectly right, is we don't want to create an additional burden for developers in Mountain Home. We don't want there to be, on its face, duplicate services. And the statute doesn't permit that. So I think this is a great starting point. I'm glad that the county's inviting us to be part of the conversation. I think we need to have the conversation. It needs to be had. It needs to be hashed. There needs to be cussing and discussing. Do I think that Mountain Home has a role with our greater realm of paying some sort of impact fee to the county? Absolutely. Does it look exactly as presented? Let's keep on looking at it.
Perfect. Copy that. Council, got any more questions?
No. No, I can agree with a lot of it, but I think that, if my memory serves me correct, I did a few inspections on the jail. I got an idea how jails are made, to where I think the sally port and the kitchen could be moved, and their parking lot that they have there, and the hold for the cows and whatnot can be moved over a
cows
bit
in
to
your
where.
jail?
No, over on the side. They have it for horses and cows that get out.
In violation.
They got all this ground. All
where
this.
the-
That's where the cows are.
Yeah. So I think that the price per square foot, I won't even argue with you. I have no clue about that whatsoever. But I do think with the right architect and engineer that building could be expanded out rather than looking for new property to put
And-
a bunch of money into.
That, remember that the proposal was to build another facility somewhere else. That would be funded through completely different methods. The impact fees would only fund for the growth-related portion of the
Okay,
facility.
all right.
So
all
if
right.
they decide to, if they can expand there and it is capable, it would still be the same impact fee because they would just be building on the exact same property. Only growth-related can be,
They'll still need to pass a bond or come up with millions of dollars to do that
if they,
moving thing.
yeah, if they're gonna do a move.
But what a wonderful idea about, let's really talk about, go to the next step of facility planning. Let's really start making some decisions about what you're gonna do, so that, as Brock says, we can show, we're collecting this because we are doing this fiscally prudent way of providing jail in the future. We don't want our existing residents to have to subsidize growth, but we want to make sure that new growth knows what they're paying for.
Exactly. I know Meecher's done a lot of work into this to where, so it,
Yeah.
Mitra, do you know of any county in the state of Idaho that has 2 operational jails?
No, and I was very adamant about encouraging the county commissioners to keep it in one jail, centralized jail. But if there is a space-related limitation at this site, then the ideal situation would be what Anne mentioned, which is, you break it down by tiers of offense.
In the
And-
same
and
way
the-
that Ada County has juvenile
Right.
justice, right? It's on the same compound, but it's like, we put kids over here, we put people that are cleaning up the highways in the work release program, so it's just that these buildings can be made more cheaply than the actual detention.
And
It's just, I'm actually not an architect or any of the things that would give me any credibility on this issue, other than I thought maybe they could do it cheaper, and so that was sort of my idea.
I do know Spokane County has 2 jails. They have one for medium
Right.
security and one for their.
I hope so, for the
Yes.
size of Spokane County.
Yes.
Not Elmore County.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Yes.
Hey, Brock,
Yes, Mayor.
$4,600 for retail per thousand. It's a little steep, don't you think?
Is it, from what we've seen, yes. And like I said, I think things need to be discussed. I think we can speak to the county about their goals, look at our economic goals of what we want to encourage, what we don't want to encourage.
So we go out to the industrial rail park and we build a 100,000 square foot building. Can you imagine the size of the impact fee for criminals, for EMS, sheriff, when it's inside city limits, so the sheriff don't have to worry about it. So I'm just trying to figure out how do we come to a reasonable number with retail? I mean, that seems a little steep.
Well, and I think that's where the discussion needs to go, that we need to tell the county that we have certain goals when it comes to certain land uses and see where we're able to give and, really horse trade. When we
Right.
speak about these larger capital improvements, there's discussions we can maybe have for the jail and be like, well, how much of that fee would be gone if we waive certain things? So
Right.
we could take the burden off everyone.
Or land swaps,
Or
or.
land swap. I
any sort
think
of-
Ooh, we got a perfect piece of real estate right there.
Does it have cows?
It's got,
I
actually, it's got
want the
nothing
cows.
on it, but
Cows.
we can land swap that piece of ground real
she
quick.
just ain't gonna let me forget the damn cows.
Yes, but
But also, this could be an excellent opportunity, because we do certain things for each other that are not formalized in any way.
It's a great
This could be a
time.
time to formalize what our expectations are of what receiving additional help looks like and really define that and tighten some things up.
And maybe change.
And I think if
The
the
way that
county's
you
willing to
do
have
it.
those tough conversations and enter into those and find solutions,
Sounds good.
I agree, Brock. We partner a lot,
Yep.
and if we could hone in those deals where, we all feel security for the next 20 years,
great.
absolutely.
Mayor, council members, another very great tool in our pocket here is the area of impact discussions for a comprehensive plan, because this could be something that could be tied, when it comes to the providing services, vice versa, not just us to you, but you to us, that could be a discussion to be had. One thing I do want to mention is what they have done is really calibrated the model, the capital improvement plan to where the growth is going to be. So let's say if Mayfield does not materialize in the next 10 years as we have anticipated, or if the growth in City of Mountain Home does not occur as we have anticipated, we have ability to calibrate the capital improvement plan to reflect that. And so, what I really like about this model is they have done it really proportionate to where the growth is going to go. You're not tied to anything, any particular thing in the capital improvement plan. Is that a fair? There is flexibility for reevaluation every 5 years.
It can size up or down the same way that yours can. Mr. Mayor, I would also mention to your point that the statute explicitly says you can waive impact fees for affordable housing. You can't exempt them, someone would have to pay for them, but if a city like Boise, for example, has a strong affordable housing program, they have money in that account, they pay the impact fees for affordable housing. I would defer to Paul on this, but a client in Salt Lake City, developments like the one that you're talking about, a large light industrial, a specific plan type of situation, if it could be shown that it would have a net positive fiscal impact on your general fund, then it would make sense for whomever was assessing the impact fees to use economic development money to pay for those fees to incent that development. I as a non-lawyer think there's enough wiggle there, but it's something we would want to talk to the county prosecutor and your city attorney about.
There is, the city of Boise's done that.
So you're saying we could say, hey, we got this nice big entity coming in, it's gonna subsidize our general fund, we're ready to rock and roll, and we're just gonna say, hey, don't pay the county fees, don't worry about that, we're good. So you could
You
say,
don't have that jurisdiction to waive their fees.
But you could come to an agreement with them that when a development comes in the city or the county that meets these agreed upon, these partnered goals of what is economic development, because not everything is economic development. This is, it needs to have this many living wage jobs, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yes. And then we've all agreed that we will. So like Ada County is asking the city, all of their cities to collect. And Boise has said, sure, but if it's an affordable housing development, you need to pay for their waived. So whoever is the owner of the impact fees, and this will be confusing because there's overlap, it's in your area, but it's obviously going to serve, true economic development will serve the entire region. So you have, just like you have the ability to do individualized assessments, when a storage unit or something comes in and asks, it is not, this takes care of 80% of the game. The other 20% of the game has to go through Paul.
Meet your question for you. In your opening statements, you said something to the effect of you had a 5-person citizen panel for the 7.
6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that they made a decision to go with one service area rather than multiples.
Yes.
Are those meetings formally recorded with like minutes and all that?
Yes, and Brock has those meeting minutes. So what happened is, this is a very tough decision as you all are facing it, right? Like on one hand you have the growth, on the other hand you have taxpayers, and you want to balance that. We had 2 meetings, Ozzy, with the 7 members, joint advisory committee. 2 of those meetings, because it's such a tough call, they just kept going around and around and around. So Ozzy and I put our heads together and said, you know what, we need to really now start honing things down to biteable small pieces so people can start making choices on that. Even if it's not in favor of Elmore County, let's just force them to make decisions. And so we came up with an agenda that was really guiding them, and Brock has that agenda, meeting minutes and what they all agreed upon. But yes, it was their collective decision that it should be from entire
So with like a body of 6 or 7?
seven members.
Was it a unanimous decision or was it a split vote?
So Brock has those meeting minutes, and you can see how each member voted.
Does anybody
So
have
we
those here
document.
currently for
I
review?
did not print it, but I am happy to send it to you subsequent to this meeting, and all of you, if that's what, because it was part of my Planning and Zoning Commission presentation.
Okay.
It is part of public information.
So Mitra, so was it a split vote or was it all unanimous?
All unanimous for the same district. I think where they were split, in some instances they were split over, whether it's too much or too little or just right.
Yeah, but the price was the biggest argument.
Yeah,
point.
price was the biggest
That's
argument.
always the biggest argument.
Yeah.
And growth assumptions, you all have gone through this, growth assumptions were
Yeah, that was
another
also
big one.
a
It's-
big debate.
And that's where we had to remind them over and over that if growth does not occur, your CIP comes down, it's
Right.
calibrated for that.
I think it's hard for people to imagine this county growing in the way that statistically we show that it's growing. So that's often a point of, there's no way we can add that many homes.
Right.
Like 0 residential or commercial building permits for the last month? Like growing at a 4.1% rate?
Well, that's what, so I'm gonna agree with Councilman Brennan, that, remember, we were gonna look at ours in what, 6 months or a
Right.
year or something, not 5 years.
No,
'Cause-
Annual.
which is why you do it and then you check it every year, because you're gonna go like this, but the number's never going to be wrong, because you're gonna move faster or lower. You're gonna shrink your CIP, but it's still a proportionate share. Where I build my house today, or 7 years from today, I still own $500 worth of the fire station that has to be built to help me. If you change your whole vision of how you're gonna grow, then yeah, you need to really start over. But if
Starting
you're
it incorrectly has really bad effects. And we can say whether it's the impact fee or the economy, if we start it really bad, people are going to stop looking and be like, well, I'm going to hope that they're going to lower it next year. That's my feeling. All right, if we're not on the right foot when we step,
Well, you'll know.
And-
You've increased yours and you'll watch and see. And I mean, that's a great opportunity for your community to ask your developers, did you choose not to build here because of our impact fees? Then you'll know.
I think ours are palatable. And I'm gonna agree with Councilman Brennan that they might be a little steep, but with your subject matter expertness, we went with your numbers. Obviously, hence we're gonna take a look at them in 6
Our
months
numbers
or,
came from Brock, so yeah.
you know what I mean? Well, obviously with all the approvals that we've done up here, and so we were, but obviously the economic times, the interest rates, things of that nature have really sucked it to developers right now. We've seen developers come in, get ready, get all their stuff in, and all of a sudden one entity drops out because they can't afford it, so they had to get another entity in, another investor. So that's time. We finally got our workforce housing, hopefully coming this summer. Those are, like I said, those are things that, like I said, I didn't agree with Councilman Brennan at the time. I thought, okay, we need to start somewhere. But now that I look at these on top of this, especially if we're going after commercial, that's a large 4,600 for 1,000 square feet. That's a big chunk of change.
And that's, I think, where some of our clients have conversations about, are we going after commercial, or is there a specific kind of commercial that meets our growth objectives and our return on investment? I mean, not all development is good for you. So if all development was good for you, then you would, and it was better for you than saving your taxpayers from subsidizing growth, then you would not have impact fees. That would be your choice. And that's, I mean, we have communities that decided not to because they were afraid that development wouldn't come. And in some of those communities, they regretted that decision because it came and they can't get that money back at this point. But you are totally in control of where that sweet point is.
Council members, I think this is a good start. We can hope, like I said, the sausage will be made behind closed doors, and we're gonna have some cuss and discuss. I guarantee, that'll probably happen, but obviously, I think, third time, Councilman Brennan's right, we need to look at county services, what are we giving to the county, vice versa, and maybe tune those up and get a 15-year plan, 10-year, 15, 20-year plan, where they don't change. I mean, obviously, they come back every year, because obviously the governing body always changes up here. So, with that, any other questions, Councilman?
One final question. Mitra, if you were a betting woman,
She's totally a betting woman.
would you bet that the commissioners would agree to my idea where the non-incorporated members of the county pay into the city impact fees, or they wouldn't support that?
So I think when you were asking that question, one of my first was a call asking the same question, is it even legal to do that, and which tool is available, and that's what my head was going, and that's when area of impact discussion came in my head, because legally that may be one area where, no?
Couldn't the county collect for the city if it's in their area of impact?
Right.
Sorry.
And so that's what my head was going, is it even legal to do that, So I would advise my board in my technical capacity, but just like Brock, I am a
We'll talk
technical
about
expert,
that
not a
off
political
the dais.
leader.
She
You all are the
yelling at me for
elected
blurting.
officials and you will make your own decisions.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mitra, thank
Thanks,
you
Mitra.
for your time.
Thank you.
All you guys
And
for
I'm
coming.
available anytime
Appreciate
for
it.
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you all.
I think what we'll end up doing then is probably have a subsequent different meeting,
Sure.
normal business hours, where we can all sit down and cuss and discuss and talk about the vision and these, and sit down with Brock. And Brock, you're very politically correct tonight, where you were this afternoon, pitchforks and torches.
Well, it's hard because I wear two hats. I'm over economic development as well, and impact fees, even for our own people, are hard to swallow for the type of development we want to see. But I see it as a tremendous opportunity to not only finalize agreements with this, but other relationships that we have with the county, and hopefully build a foundation of further collaboration.
I love you, Brock. Thank you, Mitra.
Thank you, I'm available
Thank you all.
anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, can I tell about this before they leave?
Yeah,
sure.
I told them that I have to. So, Mayor, Council, we received a 2022 top project for Idaho top project from the Business Review. Horrocks put this in for our downtown infrastructure plan. So I think we got second place. We lost out to Meridian, their liquid steam capacity expansion project. But we did beat out the Orchard Range complex repair and a couple other, some projects downtown Boise. So they got us a duplicate award, so we can put that with our other ones. So
There you go. Now you know the whole truth.
sorry, I wasn't on here, so I thought I better do that before you guys leave. I'm gonna be in trouble.
Congratulations.
Rich, for you, is this like your Super Bowl?
Yeah, this is my.
Well, actually, it should have been Courtney's Super Bowl, right? Give you a hard time.
Well, I kind of feel bad because whoever put this in actually said in the paper here, it says the owner developer it says Richard Keating, and the other ones say like the seats. I didn't put that in.
There you go. He's the one that talks to him.
Speller Keating.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Right. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll run down to item number 4, deliberation decision on Mountain Home Irrigation District offering for 2 city vehicles that have been declared surplus property. Tiff, you got any more on that? Before, I would like to ask a question to the council. If we're not going to give the big one up, can I keep it for the city? Fiber. They snapped off their trailer hitch off the, what is it, an 84 Ford F-150.
So they've been using the box truck right now.
Keep it.
Well, isn't that one worth
18.
18 and they want to give us 42? I'd say keep it and give it to them then.
Okay, anyway, sorry, Tip, it's your show now. I just thought I'd throw it up to ask.
It's not my show.
Not my monkeys?
Yeah.
Now when they
Mayor,
just took it away from you.
Mayor Council, have been pushing this resolution around since its first approval back in October, and really would like to have the direction forward. The irrigation district, I talked with their secretary last Wednesday. She said they for sure would like the Colorado, and they knew the value of the box truck was more than what we were proposing early on, but they were going to take us for the deal that we were about to give them. So I said, well, it doesn't sound like we want to let go of the box truck unless you're going to come up with a little bit more money. They, as you all know, have said they don't have any money to give us. So that's where I'm at today.
Councilman Brennan?
Taking the big box truck off the table, is there a alternative number that they've offered for the Colorado?
I had the first notation on the Colorado.
I see the Kelly Blue Book values here.
What was the Kelly? Because they said
22 average.
I thought it was like $1,200, Rich.
yeah, but then I think he said that maybe they could, I mean, I would have.
I thought originally it was $1,200
He said
because
like
it was,
15.
and then they were gonna give us another $1,200 for both of them, and then I pushed it to 36, and then I said, well, if you're gonna do the rent, then just do the whole year's worth, if that's the case, which then got him to the 4,200.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to just deny the deal with the irrigation district on both trucks. Tiffany, I appreciate your work on it, but they're really lowballing us.
I'll second that motion.
Can I ask one question? Are they going to auction? Like, is the Colorado gonna go to auction, or do you want it to stay within our fleet?
Does the city need it? Backup airport
Does Jake need
vehicle?
it?
Okay, then we're gonna get rid of this and we'll bring it back. We'll ask,
We'll ask the department heads if they
and then
need
we'll
it.
we'll bring it back if that's the
I
case
guess-
at a later date.
It wouldn't be out there just sitting if we didn't need it, or, if we didn't want it, right? Didn't we ask anyway if they needed it? The only reason I'm asking for the box truck is because Danny's been using it,
they're
because we
using it.
snapped that hitch off.
Well, could Fiber use the Colorado?
If we're growing the department under the
Well, and a heavy duty truck would work a heck of a lot better than that for pulling around those trailers.
airport vehicle? No?
No, they got the
Yeah.
Journey.
They don't. You don't have to airport.
Don't need a second one? No? Okay. Let's bring it back, I guess.
Brock, you need one?
No, I'm
All-
good.
all
Yeah.
the services in general. We do have 2 code enforcement officers now.
Oh, there you go.
That can be used collectively with building, planning and zoning, economic development. I go down to Boise like once a month.
You don't want
for
to take that.
meetings.
You don't want to take that to voice.
Probably don't want to take that, but just an idea that collectively there could be some use.
There's a use for it, yeah.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Here, now I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman McKay?
Aye. Go ahead, you can shoot us, Tiff.
No, I'm good. I don't have to push it around anymore.
Number 5,
Accounting department thanks you.
action item, deliberation decision on planning and zoning commission's recommendation and findings of facts to approve to vacate right-of-way of East 5th North. Staff report provided on an email December 27th, 2022. Council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
is the developer here present? Can we let them
Come on down,
say,
sir.
let them say their piece?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, for record, Lee Young from 200 Broad Street, Boise. The first item that's up there, the vacation that we're requesting, the reason for it, there's currently conditional use permit on the building, keeping it zero lot line, because it's in a C3 zone. And that's not allowed use in a C3 zone, but back in, I think, 1988, it was granted to have that building right up against the right-of-way. At that time also, an easement was created for 2 ramps at the rear of the store to come out into that right-of-way. It's currently a little over, well, trying to think the exact width, it's over 13 feet of sidewalk that's there from the back of walk to the building and the lot line. So it's a super wide sidewalk area. And we have that easement for those 2 ramps at the back. And operationally, Albertsons would like to expand that store out by a total of 835 square feet, which is 2 small rectangles on each, adjacent to each one of those ramps for additional storage. It doesn't change parking, it doesn't change sales area, floor size, it doesn't change access ramps, driveways, drive aisles, how deliveries are made. Deliveries still get stopped and made on the street behind the store. There's a small curb cut, pedestrian sized curb cut that the delivery people use, and it's the approved loading area for the store from the city. The expanded storage area is used to actually increase efficiencies for the store and speed up the amount of time that anything may or may not sit on the sidewalk while people are delivering. Because right now that store, the back is just so compact that it takes time for them to move some things around to get it in the right location, and this will help with that tremendously. Again, it doesn't affect any of the drive aisles or any of those items. It's just, we started the process back in March. Came to talk to planning and zoning and sat down with Public Works, Fire. And as far as those entities, they were okay with the idea of doing the expansion. And through conversations with planning, and then planning spoke with the city's council, legal counsel, and I'm not sure who else in the beginning, and decided that asking for a vacation was the most appropriate direction to go with this request for that small expansion. And that's kind of what led us here today.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
So the 2 rectangles, as you say, that they want to add, is that any deeper or sticking out closer to the curb and gutter than the current ramps that are there?
No. What, picture plan, with that little expansion, all the requirements for the walkway that the city requires in the C3 zone are still met. The clearances are there. There's no problems with accessibility anywhere.
I'm just asking, does it stick out further? Does it impede a little bit closer to the curb and gutter on 5th Street?
Than the existing ramps?
Yes.
1 foot.
1 foot further? Okay. Do you have a small copy for us by chance of that?
I can get additional copies of any size you want. I think that in planning and zoning's packet on pages 5, 6, and 7, there's several drawings in there that kind of show where those clearances are, but there's no impeding on accessibility for the city's walkway requirements back there.
I've heard a few concerns maybe about ADA accessibility with the power pole that's sticking in the middle of the sidewalk there. If your new bump outs, I'll call them, are a little wider, then what impact will that have on ADA accessibility through?
It's where the existing ramp is right now, so.
Well, they said they're not taking those ramps out.
Right, but
So-
I mean, so whatever's there right now is what,
So the existing power pole that you were talking about, if this is the existing ramp,
yep,
between my fingers here, there's an existing, oh, where's my pen? This is the ramp area. Okay, thank you. And that power pole you're talking about sits about midway into that ramp, at that ramp.
Okay.
So that doesn't change anything.
And it currently passes ADA responsibilities, or not responsibilities, requirements.
It does. ADA requirements allow, even if it does have the clearance requirements, but even if it didn't, the code allows restrictions from a certain width to another one over a certain distance, or, minimum, or a maximum distance, and that diameter of the pole doesn't.
One of my concerns is, sorry, do you mind if I keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my big concerns is the city just spent millions of dollars redoing our downtown and expanding our sidewalks and making them bigger and easier to traverse and whatnot. And we formally designated all of the land that Albertson sits on as our official downtown corridor. And so for us to go from the plan we just spent millions of dollars on to give away part of our property or grant a further easement, whatever the proper language is, to shrink down the sidewalk when we just went through a big plan of widening our sidewalks through the downtown corridor.
So I'm Adam Lynn with Albertsons. I mean, I get your concern on, we've tried to be, good partners to the community. I believe we removed 2 access points at this store and moved 2 ones in cooperation with the city and ITD. And then for the, the Ace hardware there, when we owned it, we allowed the city to use it for the Giving Tree program, and the county, I'm not sure how good terms you guys are on, but we allowed them to use it as well free of charge. So, I mean, really with this, we're just trying our best to be, to do our best to serve the community. Right, so I mean, I get your concern, but.
You're gonna
Oh, go ahead.
you're gonna get me firing back at you, and I don't want to do it. But I understand Albertson's company has a financial responsibility to the shareholders or whatever. It's a business; they want to make as much money as possible. But it kind of hurts my feelings when Albertsons refuses to let another grocery store business into a store that sat vacant for years, when our community, I'm sorry, but we desperately need another grocery store, right? And we don't need 800 square feet more. I know you guys do, and that's fine, and it will help our community for sure, in whichever aspect. But for that store to sit vacant as long as it was, and I hope it's factual. I've heard from many sources that as part of the deal for that building is nothing grocery store related.
I mean, I'm not sure. I couldn't say one way or another, right? But there's I hope that Ace, hardware is helping the community as well.
Sure.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
what is the distance going to be between the pole and your building if this is approved?
It doesn't change from its existing distance.
Yes, it does. If it's going to go down a foot, it's going to change.
No, the pole itself,
Right, the pole stays there. What is the distance in between the pole and the building going to be?
No, the ramp's going to stay
the
there.
ramp
Well,
stays.
this stays here. It's going to be right here, and then down here. So this won't change.
This end is not changing here at all then?
Nope. Because you
Okay.
can really see it.
pole and an
Because there's the
existing
ramp, and then there's the power pole.
Okay, well,
This
I was
right
looking
here,
at
yeah.
this coming through
Me
here.
too.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right. I
As
understand
soon as I
what
got-
you're saying then.
Yeah.
Okay, all
As soon as
right.
I got this, then it made sense. So I was like,
Yeah.
you're coming out a foot, you're not fitting a wheelchair through.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at it going, that's not going to fly. I know how ADA works, but it's
Right.
staying the same as what it is. That ramp is not moving out
Right.
an additional foot, so, okay.
Correct.
Right here, and then right here.
Right, okay, okay.
And How's our conversations been with Idaho Power about moving those out of sidewalks?
They're not too benevolent
Yeah, right.
about assisting the moving of those power lines.
No.
Hence, in the contract that they signed, it says that if we ask them to move it for ADA compliance reasons, they have to move it, and they're still not doing it?
Per the contract we have,
Yeah.
if we were to do a formal request, we probably could
Okay.
perhaps see movement of the line.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get on it. I just wanted to see where we were with, see if we can move it in the future. All right, sorry. Sorry, council, go ahead. Get off on that.
Okay. That was my only concern.
So I think my concern is currently when I drive past back there, I'm seeing crates of water. I'm seeing the empty bread racks, things like that out there. So getting rid of that space, along with still having the deliveries on the back side, it's going to impede the sidewalk without having that area for storage while the deliveries are happening.
And I agree with Councilman Green, because right now you have pallets where you're gonna put this space, so where are you gonna put these pallets, these milk crates, the
bread
water,
racks.
the breads, all that? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the intent is to help free up floor space within the existing store. Because right now, if you get a 40-foot trailer in the morning, because all the deliveries come in the morning, if you get a 40-foot trailer in and he unloads at the same time bread guys coming in, at the same time the chip guys coming in, you know, without the intent is to have these additional storage areas here and here to expedite the bringing of product in, and in reality kind of alleviating some of that issue of product sitting on the sidewalk on the public's.
You know, it'd be nice if Albertsons donated a big fat check to our city pool infrastructure. I'm just throwing that out there, council. Just throwing that out there.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
So what's your role with Albertsons Corporation?
I don't work for Albertsons. I work with an architecture firm.
Okay. So they hired you as their architect? Okay. So do you know, I heard Kroger Company bought out Albertsons.
I mean, whatever you guys know is what I know, right, from the public. Whatever the public releases and stuff, I follow it like you guys. I do work for Albertsons.
Is that true?
I mean, whatever you see in the public, right? I mean,
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I'm going to make a motion to deny the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation and findings of facts to approve to vacate right-of-way of East 5th North.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
All right.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Going down to action item number 6, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts to approve the conditional use permit to allow the expansion, enlargement of the non-conforming structure located at 528 North Main Street. Staff reported December 27, 2020.
So I'll go ahead and just make a motion to deny this one as well, since it kind of ties in with the previous.
You know, second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman
McCain.
McCain.
Aye.
Jeez, I'm criminy. Would anybody in the audience like to get up and speak? All right, run down to final comments. Hey, Chief, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic, sir. How are you?
You're up first. Because I don't want you to have to follow Shasta.
Nobody wants that.
I appreciate it.
I'll save that for like a Brock or a Rich.
Well, Council, the PD is doing really good. We've taken the first shipment of equipment out of the old vehicles down at Premier. They hope to start installation of that equipment on the new vehicles in about another week or so. We don't have a firm timeline for delivery yet, but we'll get this out here as soon as we can. pleased to announce that we had 2 new promotions in the last month. Lieutenant Holloway and Corporal Rollins were both promoted. There's much need vacancies in the department. And ICRAMP is doing some supervisor training for us at our request. 2 two-day sessions in April for basic supervisors. I'll be stepping in for a couple hours in both those sessions and doing some incident command training as well for our supervisors. County Sheriff's been invited, as has some other agencies around the nearby area that express interest in the ICRAMP training. So we're looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Rich?
Me? Already?
Snoozing with that warrant.
Yeah, public works going well. You know, Gene's here, so I'll let him talk about the streets, but we've been putting in some of our cameras in the well houses now that we have all the fiber kind of in there, so got those moving in. Other than that, you know, we're still, you know, wintertime stuff going on to making sure everything's, you know, streets are flowing, you know, all the storm water and everything like that, so that's really about it.
Councilman Brennan?
Rich, now that you're at that kind of season of no irrigation, are you taking any measurements of, I don't know what you call it, the height of the water in the well? Like how much it's declining or increasing?
We haven't, no, we actually ran our test to get some water. Everything, we didn't check the depth. I don't think we checked the depth of it, but we ran a lot of water out to clean it out, so to send our new tests in. So we took 2 samples to send to 2 different places, and everything's come back okay so far. So
we don't have a way to measure the water level in the well.
Oh yeah, we could drop a sounder down there. Yes, but we have not done that.
There hasn't been any historical measurements of that at a certain time in a year. I thought we talked about that in the whole well project. Okay.
Like in all the different wells.
Yeah, just to really get a measurement of if our aquifer's dropping in Mountain Home, if it's not, how much, if it is.
Yeah, we could certainly drop sounders and see where we are in all of our wells.
And speaking of wells, I guess it's been a month since our last real meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Where's well number 17?
Yeah, that's what. So Hiddleston came out and did another, cleaned out the well, disinfected it, and ran the water for the whole day, about 100 gallons a minute for the day to clean it out and get everything going. And that's what, so we collected the water for those and sent for the tests. So that's what we were testing. So
what is Public Works decided with the life of that well? We're gonna use it and drill another one.
What was Keller's recommendation? Have we got that back yet?
we have not. So that's we need to sit. That's we need to. We're waiting for this test to get done. So we had everything because the lead was kind of the big deal. Why we ended up getting a lead sample, I don't know. So we're kind of waiting on that to see where we are. But that should be coming here pretty much any time. But I would think it was just because they really didn't disinfect the well. That wasn't part of the deal when we did that first test. We just pumped it and did it. So, but we need to sit down and get that moving forward. So what we want to do with it, do we want to cap the bottom and retest it again and pump it to see where the sand was coming from, or if we just want to go ahead and put a sand separator in it and get what we can out of it? So those are some choices. Those choices have not been made yet.
And at what point will you include the council in helping guide those decisions?
So we have, we could certainly do a work session and do that. If that's something that you would like to be involved in, that'd be fine.
I'd like that.
We can set that up.
I can't speak for Councilman McGarvey, but I bet she'd be interested.
I'm sure she would. So yeah, we could certainly set something up and look at the costs, and because we do think if we finally did get all of our costs in, what it was going to be to do the different things for that. So.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yep, I can get that set up.
Thanks.
Shasta, we're going to torture the rest of them.
Mayor, Council, I completed this annual state statistical report. Some of the notable stats, we had a 28% increase in new or renewed cards, library cards, and so 2022 is our highest yet as far as number of cards made. We handed out over 1,000 free books to kids during community events. Over 8,000 participated in our children's programming. 6,000, almost 7,000 participated in our teen, adult, and family programming. 52 teens collectively volunteered 459 hours at the library. Our door count tallied 75,000 people through the doors. We notarized 86 documents and proctored 43 tests. Our digital collection checkout had 5,000 checked out. We did 337 interlibrary loans, and 71,000 physical items were checked out last year.
It's fantastic.
CWI is still doing GED testing on Mondays and Wednesdays. We are still doing story times on Tuesdays. Our adult craft night is tomorrow night. We're doing wire wrap jewelry. Music and movements always Wednesdays and Fridays in the morning. Steam Tykes and Team Coders on Wednesday afternoons. Thursday is Crafternoon. Every Friday we have our Chatty Crafters, and every Saturday we have our chess club. And this Saturday we have our Dungeons and Dragons one-shot run at noon. Registration is required for that. And next week we have our monthly junior hangouts activity. It's going to be an escape room themed after the movie The Page Master. And that's Tuesday afternoon. And then Thursday morning next week we have our Friends of the Library monthly meeting. And Friday afternoon next week is our monthly gaming arcade. And then followed by that evening, we're partnering with the Arts Council for an open mic night from 6 to 8. And then following that, Saturday morning, we have a history presentation on Vikings. That's it.
Can you put that in my calendar? She's like, and that, and that, and that.
So that was the totals for the year of
For
2022?
the year 2022.
I remember when the walk-in count was 10,000 a day.
Yeah, I don't know where they got that number. Just-
All right, what?
I also heard that old Brad was going to the Dungeons and Dragons meeting. Just kidding, Brad.
All right, who wants to volunteer next? Mr. Fitzer, you're up.
Nope.
All right, we'll pick on Brock. How about you, buddy?
Well, if we're throwing out numbers, this last year, this body, with the Planning and Zoning Commission, the development team, passed over 1,100 new dwelling units. With the year before, we have collectively over 2,000. There is not another city near us that can say they are more pro-growth, pro-housing, housing diversity than what this body has done. So I want to commend this body on following your comprehensive plan. I know all of them have not been maybe each of your favorites, but you have been good with working with developers, trying to find middle ground to pursue good mountain home development. So I just want to commend you on that. Not every city can say that, so you should be proud of that. Master Transportation Plan kickoff will be this Thursday at 5:30. I want to thank Councilman Green for volunteering to be your city council liaison. We have quite the group there with us. We will give routine updates of where we're going with that. If you have any questions, let us know. The Shoshone-Bannock Tribe will be having open houses concerning their gaming casino project. The dates will be Monday, January 23rd, and Tuesday, January 24th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then 1:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, these are sponsored and put on by the Shoshone-Bannock Tribe. I have forwarded this email to all department heads. I urge anyone to go and learn, to get the best information possible. They said that they will have different booths set up to talk about different topics. I think it will be informational and valuable to attend. Other than that, that is all I have of major importance.
Chief.
Nice. Mayor and council, currently we're in a good rough draft for our annual training calendar. That's been a work process for a long time. With the growth, with the changes upcoming in our mission and things like that, we have to look at our training differently as well. Looking at taking advantage of more Thursdays, trying to balance the time with the firefighters and families and so forth there. But everybody is bought into the idea that we're working to get better, and those time commitments I don't think will be an issue. But the thing that's going to really make it successful is having a year-long calendar that people can look at, see, budget their time accordingly, And we'll be looking at different things such as quarterly, half-day Saturday trainings, things like this, where we can get people that can make those Saturdays. Hopefully that'll be the bulk, that we can get 4 hours of just good solid work in on different evolutions that we'll have trained on in per quarter. So I think that'll be a good thing for us. I've talked a bit about the leadership program with James Rowan. I've heard nothing but good things about that from the various firefighters and officers on the department. I myself am truly impressed with it. It does give you an opportunity to look at your leadership style and how that is. The more I see, the more enamored I am with the thought of it, not only just for as a leader for on the department, but as an individual. How that works, that growth within yourself is something that you can take with you and bleed into your family and so forth with that. So I really think that'll be a good thing when we're through that. We're into the wonder stage, how that's going to work. Well, Mr. Rowan told me that we'll go into a thunder stage where we're there, we're on it, and then he promised me that we'd probably hit a blunder stage where, oh, crap, I've got to be a hardcore leader today. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good thing, but it is going to be something we'll work throughout the year. Mr. Rowan will be out sometime in January, later in January. I don't know a date yet, possibly February, where he'll come out and meet individually with people and sit down and do what's called the 360 on various surveys that we've taken in our styles and make recommendations on what we can do to improve and make things better individually. The other thing I have is I have a thank you for you guys. I submitted into the last item in your packet for moving forward with the new hire position for a firefighter on the department. Hope to get that kicked out. Had some email correspondence with Daniel today to get that posted today to get that position filled. Obviously, with the growth plans reviews and with all the other things we have, equipment tending just to fill the gaps and to make us safer and more efficient as a department. That's going to be a great asset to get that going. So looking forward to that. Also, we get the right individual hired in that thing. We're hoping to get that into a succession plan for replacement down the line for people. So that's our start. That's all I have.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Chief, question about your memo. I appreciate you throwing it in our packet. That's really good to look forward to. One probably really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Your note said it's going to be a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 employee. They'll be fully eligible or expected to do the call outs on nights and weekends too?
Absolutely. They'll operate no differently than I operate or than Brian operates. The expectation that they'll want to do that, but also they'll be able to supplement their income with those after-hour calls too. But yeah, part of being a very integral part of being part of our dynamics, the way we operate now, is definitely to be that guy that's up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going and joining in and helping make things work.
Sure. Is that how it works? I think you might be in a different spot. But for Brian and your new pick, they'll get a full salary, essentially an hourly wage, and then on top of that, the call out pay for weekends and holidays.
They won't be an exempt employee, no, so they would get an additional thing. So
This new person will, not Brian. Brian's an exempt employee.
right.
Oh, Brian is too.
Exempt
Yeah.
employee.
Okay.
But this person would not be an exempt employee.
Okay. And then finally, you talk about it. I hope I'm not blowing any cover here. It's in your letter. So internal position only. Does that mean anybody that currently is fully certified, or like, I don't know if you have any kind of recruits still in the training process, if they're eligible? Anybody that's on any kind of payroll with the fire department, where's that line drawn for you?
Well, currently where it's at is not. I don't know. There's been some interest that has been expressed, but it's not been a common conversation that I've had with any individuals about like soliciting for it. So generally, as the department, they've known for over a year that this position is something that we're working towards. They know that I've kept everybody updated and to get prepared for that. So based off of what we get for the candidates as they come in, we'll kind of see how that works out best fit for the position. So the hope and intent would be that we would have somebody on the fire department that already has a skill set, that already has these credentials, these type of things that we can get in there. If they don't, then they have the ability to achieve those things, get there. So it's fairly well laid out in the job description that is out there, what those would be, and timelines for those things to occur. So
Do you have any new firefighters that aren't yet like fully qualified?
yes.
Oh, so would they be eligible to apply? Or
It wouldn't be a realistic expectation for them. They can apply, but it wouldn't be necessarily a reasonable expectation they would get that.
okay.
Does
Thanks.
that sound fair?
I don't know the life of a firefighter and what trainings are, but as I read on your memo, it seems like it's going to be kind of a grunt laborer for that position. So I figure like I'll leave it. You know what I mean, probably.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be all of that. But I mean, it's not going to be all of that. The intent is to hire an individual that can. If they don't have that, they can achieve that and move from there. But there's a level of skill, and I believe that we'll have enough interest in that level there. My expectation is that we will have enough expectation for that. They know the job.
Okay. Thank you.
Jade?
Follow up on the mayor and council. The street department's been working on wintertime maintenance. It's been sweeping streets. We've got 2 sweepers running most of the time, potholes, and the occasional snowstorm this year. So we've been pretty dang busy doing all that. Right now, we're going to go pick up our Peterbilt, which is our newest truck, the one we bought in 2018. We got a sander and a plow put on it. Tomorrow it's supposed to be ready, so we'll go down and check on it and bring it in here so the city will be up one more sander and plow to help back up the other 2. We do occasionally break down in the middle of the night, and this will be great in addition to that. We also, I believe we got an update today from MetroQuip on our street sweeper that we ordered about some of this stuff takes about a year or so to get here. It was scheduled for the end of February, beginning of March time frame. We got an update today that says right now that it should be ready around the beginning of June. So they will send us some more information. I've been running some numbers, been doing some stuff with contractors, got some concrete sidewalks going. Stuff started before the snowstorms, trying to get an early start. We'll probably jump back into that again as the weather dries up just a little bit, because a lot of it's open holes and stuff like that. I looked at some of the numbers and I saw some pretty good increases. I've been telling people pretty regularly that everything kind of doubled in cost last year. And that's kind of a rough assessment of everything from fuel to the price of eggs to the
Asphalt.
equipment. The time frames are taking twice as long. This is on everything that we do. And when I ran a lot of the numbers today, I noticed that there's about a 60% increase on even pavements. So I've been working with some of our suppliers to see what we can do on this next year. Been working with them for about a month already, trying to figure out where it's going next. So hopefully, I'm anticipating that some of this stuff's going to come down in costs, but it probably won't come down very quickly. And about the time it gets there, it'll probably start to spike again. So we're going to try to get done as much as we can in 2023 and hope for the best. So.
Mr. Fransky?
Let's have like 20 minutes to keep you guys up to date. I'm just kidding. I can't compete with these guys. Revenue's coming in as planned. Everything's showing up just the way it's supposed to. And the transfer memo will be coming to you guys at the next council meeting. So when you have the well discussion, I don't know what you're going to have to kind of decide about the ARPA funds, how you guys want to do that. But I'm not going to put that on this transfer memo. I'm going to wait for your discussion. This will just be economic development and golf.
Tiff. Oh, sorry.
Were you glad to learn that there's no accounting process for
I was so upset.
county impact
Yes,
fees?
I was like, that's, I just see me look at Tiffany and then over at the mayor. I'm like,
You just
yes.
just write a check.
I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. And then Paul's like,
Yeah, that was a eye-catching thing there.
wow. Tiff.
Mayor Council, I don't have any updates.
All right, council. Anything? If not, then I'll ask a council member to get us into an executive session.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
Make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206, subsections 1A, B, and F, to consider the hiring of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, wherein the respective qualities of individuals are to be evaluated in order to fill a particular vacancy or need.
Yeah.
And you read all that? And a couple others, okay.
Second.
The motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Kane.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
All right, we'll run into executive session. Is this for chief?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, what do you want?